Well, shall we start with the last week? Since the last time we saw you, I mean, what's happened? How is everyone?
Well, it's just been, like I said, and I'm not in a group of one here. Obviously, it's sweeping through football, and I think obviously as we talk about protocols and trying to stick to it, and investment that we did here and other clubs have done, even in the Premier League, it just takes no prisoners, does it? The sort of infection, and even at a club of such a stature of Manchester City gets hit by it. So it's as I said, it takes no prisoners. It can do to you what it did to us and has done to other clubs. So I should imagine, as I talked about it last Friday, when I spoke to you, it was possibly the most difficult 48 hours in sort of personally in my managerial career, because it was just havoc, and it was crazy, and things were just continually changing. And I've got to say, I'm sat here now not knowing what my team's going to be on Saturday afternoon, because players are due in and anything can happen. Players came in yesterday and tested positive. I've got to say, I've wrote that team out about 1,000 times that is gonna play at Mansfield and a tough third round FA Cup tie. So whether it's that, whether it's the preparation of the team, obviously that has been minimal. The players were in Tuesday, a small group. Obviously the players that tested positive Thursday returned to very, very light training yesterday on medical advice. That is obviously key for me as well, and the football club, is that the experts in the medical department advise us how much, how long, who can step out onto the training ground. So there was a few more additions on Thursday, and I should imagine some more additions Friday because of the week, and obviously having to do. I don't know what I've got to say. I don't know exactly where I am with it. 6-day testing, 7-day testing. Is it? What is it? I don't know. So still some members of staff are still off as well. So it's been that type of week, and we've got to get on with it, and do our best to field a team that's going to be competitive in a really competitive FA Cup tie at Mansfield on Saturday dinner time.
Well, I appreciate you have got testing to come this morning, as you said. As it stands, how many players do you have available to you to pick from?
Yeah, because of the 9 or 10 that tested positive last Thursday, Friday, they will come back into the reckoning. So obviously we've gone over the threshold that makes us or we have to play the game. Obviously we were well below it on last week, and that was the reason, and I've said before, maybe when people have a big sit down and think about the sort of the process and the rules and the sort of the things that have been put in place, the guidance and the detail, maybe that changes, and more thought goes into it. And as I said, I was critical in my comments last week, having time to sort of reflect on that. People are put in tight situations, from the AFL point of view, and have to make quick decisions, and sometimes, as I said, with a little bit more thought process into it, maybe we can bottom this out and come to a better way of deciding what games are on and what games aren't. And I always have been and always will be honest in terms of my opinion, and I think a few clubs have stretched it and bent the rules and got away with calling games off. And I think what has happened is that it's punished the teams later on who have got genuine cases to postpone or ask for postponement of games, and we're definitely one of them. It's nothing changes from my point of view. So of course, as I said, we've got players back. We'll have a look at that, and we're still, from a medical point of view as well, taking advice from those guys, because there's going to be, quite a few, if not the majority of the 8 or 9 that tested positive on Thursday and Friday that won't be able to start a game. We've got no injuries, by the way, no injuries at all. And obviously off the back of that, we've had more cases on the early part of the week as well. So the players that possibly would have played at Sheffield United, if the game had been, we were forced to play in that game, we've lost a few of those as well. So
how many have you lost them in the early part of this week then?
1, 2, 4.
Right.
We've lost 4. So it's going to be a team. It's going to be a team that we put together. I think everybody understands that. And but as I said, I'm not in a group of one. That's the same situation for every manager up and down the country come this weekend, and it's something that we have to adjust to, be inventive with, and obviously, a few of the younger players are going to get opportunities to play in the FA Cup against Mansfield, so that opens it up for them. There'll be some senior players out there, and I think as soon as you see I'm not gonna give names away on whatever just at this particular moment, Mark. But I think as soon as you see the team sheet and you look at the bench, you'll recognise and realise the situation that we're in, and I should imagine Mansfield are in, and it's just the timing of it all, and what situation clubs are and teams are at that particular moment, but I think understand the competitive aspects of it. When we get on that bus, we're going to win, and we want to win, and we've got a full house that we've sold from our point of view, supporters wise, and it might look a different team to the one that took the pitch on Boxing Day and played a couple of days later at Blackpool. It will be, but we're still expecting a performance and a result, and we want to progress in this fabulous competition.
And even if you were going into this with no COVID, your absolute first choice 11, this would still be tricky, wouldn't it? I mean, you're up against a team who've won 10 of 11. They didn't win any of the previous 4 teams, so they're obviously streaky, but they'll fancy the chances, won't they? I've
got an awful amount of credit for respect for Nigel. My sort of early part of my managerial career up against his Burton team in the conference, and I know what a great guy he is, and what a fabulous football man he is, principled and has got integrity and honesty, and says it as it is, and and managed at a really high level and being successful. And I think if you look back at Nigel's career as well, and he obviously managed at Sheffield United, and I went on a couple of those cup runs as well as a supporter, watching Sheffield United reaching the FA Cup semi-final as a League One team, and League Cup semi-final as well. So he's well versed and has got history in turning over teams of a higher league, and experience of it, and just reading his notes and his press, and listening to what he's had to say. This is a tough game, regardless of if we had a fully fit squad, and we understand that. But I want us to go deep into the competition. I think it's important we keep momentum. I would have played a strong side, but obviously the situation is we'll play the cards that we dealt with, but we have to be right physically, mentally, and we've got a big job, and I think everybody understands that, and I respect that too.
Could one of those cards be Aaron Connolly, who I spoke to yesterday? I mean, he's obviously keen to make an impact here because he's barely started any games so far this season, has he, at Brighton?
Yeah, we have to be careful with the minutes with Aaron early on. We're looking at him and what he's done and his load over sort of the past sort of 3 or 4 weeks. So he needs topping up a little bit because he's been out the frame and out the picture at Brighton. So he's worked extremely hard, but he'll be involved. So delighted that he'll be pulling on a Middlesbrough shirt for the first time, and excited regarding Aaron and what he can give to us in the second part of the season. I've spoke to him at length. He's got a little bit of the eye of the tiger in him, and I know obviously you guys have spoke to him. He's not come here for 3 or 4 months. Just taking it easy and chilling out. He wants to do well. Personally wants to do well, and from a team point of view, he's a team player. He's got that attributes that will add and make us better, and he wants to, as I said, wants to do well for himself, but certainly wants the team to continue in the form that we've showed recently.
Just a couple of one's a transfer and one's a loan questions to put to you. One, Folarin Balogun, at Arsenal, there's been an awful lot written about him. Is a move for him, almost come off, and also Djed Spence. Again, reading, he's not coming back. Has a decision been made on leaving him at Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, the couple of things. Listen, Mark, I'm not going to stick names to any of our targets. We've worked extremely hard and still are in terms of sealing these deals, but we're in conversation with a couple of Premier Leagues regarding loans. So I've got to say, thank the owner and the work that's gone on behind the scenes from Neil Bowser and Kieran Scott. Everything was talked. A lot was talked regarding Kieran's appointment and his effect that he will do and have in sort of affecting the club on many levels. So we've been working very, very closely for quite a long time. So we're delighted to get Aaron in, and we're hopeful, that we will add, because we talked about it, being smart and adding to the group. Good players want to see other good players come into the group as well. The team are going well, and I think it's the right time to strengthen as well. To sort of cement our position and improve it, and that's what we're all trying to do. And other clubs will be doing the same. So, yeah, there's been offers on the table to a couple of clubs, and I like to think, when the window shuts, that the group will be in a lot better shape than it is now, in terms of the balance of it, in terms of the depth of it. There might be a couple of players that we bring in as well, from a little bit of a longer term point of view. A couple of the younger boys that we've had our eye on, that we'll do decent and smart deals with. And obviously we've talked about it, Mark, in terms of some players going out the building as well, which will obviously happen to balance the books and to make sure we comply and we do work that's diligent to how we do our business. Regarding Djed, yeah, there's a decision. He's our player, and it has been always a complex situation. And I understand more than anybody that he's playing well, and we're delighted he's playing well because he's our player, so he's our asset as well, as they all are. So yeah, we always look at from a football point of view, and these boys are playing well, but part of it is as well is to increase their value, and certainly Djed has done that. I think we all understand that maybe he might not be a player that I would have allowed to go out. I think that's understandable in terms of how we play and what his attributes are. But I've watched him, and he's doing well, and he's happy. He wants to stay there to the second part of the season. I know that's not the be all and end all, Mark. We have to make the decision that fits right by us. But we've made that decision that Djed stays out there to the end of the season. Financially, there was we had that ability to improve the contract financially to benefit us, that allows us as well to maybe invest elsewhere and allow us that opportunity to improve the standard of the player that we're trying to get into this football club by allowing Djed to go out. And I think the biggest thing is the young man that's playing in that position at the moment, you know, and I don't want to stunt his progression because he's been outstanding. And obviously, you know, bringing the player back who has played football, who wants to play first team football, and I know they all do. So I've got to weigh up a lot of things, and I like to think that, I know it's early days, but the supporters of Middlesbrough Football Club will trust in the decisions that we make for the benefit of the football club, short, medium, and long term. And as I said, it was quite a difficult one and quite a complex one, Mark. But we've made the decision to leave Djed out, and we feel that was the right decision on quite a lot of fronts. And as I said, the biggest one for me is Jonah, his progression and how he's played and what he's doing. We have cover in that position as well. You know, there's 2 or 3 players that comfortably can play that position as well. So quite a lot of things, and as well, you know, Djed wanted to stay at Nottingham Forest. So I've got to think about the chemistry and the harmony of the changing room as well. And do I want an unhappy player here? And he will be, no doubt about it. He wants to stay there. He's made that perfectly clear to me and to the football club. And you know, I don't think I'm chucking him under the bus. I understand his situation. It's going well for him, and he wants to continue that. And the spirit of the group is really important to me. And basically, I don't want players that really don't want to be here for the second part of the season and want to be somewhere else. So I like to think that the Middlesbrough fans will trust me in the decisions that I'm making for the right and benefit of the football club.
Lastly, double congratulations are due, aren't they? You and Isaiah Jones, manager and player of the month. That's a nice bit of recognition. Yeah,
team recognition, Mark, in terms of everything we've done. I think from the boys' point of view, he's had a fabulous month, but he'll be the first to recognise. And if he doesn't, I'll be telling him that there's some players around him that have allowed him to produce those performances. We're playing well, and he's shone out, and he's individually took that accolade. And from my point of view, you know, I'll always take that award on behalf of the football club. Because that's always how I've worked, and we all work together in the way that we have done. So it comes off the back of good performances and really good results against some top sides. As an experienced manager, I know what the game's all about, and it's on to the next win, and it's on to the next set of results, and we can keep this going. Then I believe, you know, we've got an exciting second part of the season in front of us. It's going to be incredibly difficult. We've put ourselves in a good position. We don't want to throw our hard work away. And we really now have to motor on, and now the hard work begins, in my opinion, in terms of new players that we're bringing in terms of the players, the work that are here to keep those standards, and even can we raise them and be consistent in the second part of the season. I think we all know there's a lot to play for. Not just for me, but a lot of managers in this division. They will be eyeing up success in the second part of the season, and certainly we are.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers, Mark. Take care. Ta-ra. Thank you.
Good luck with the testing.
Cheers. Ta.
Jamie from Sky, please.
Hey, Jamie.
Thanks very much. Good morning, Chris. Happy New Year to you.
And you, mate. Happy New Year to you.
If you can still say that on the 7th of January. Just wanted to pick you up on something you said to Mark earlier in terms of teams bending the rules to get games called off. Is that something that's becoming more rife? Why do you think they're doing it? Because it seems it's not great form taking advantage of a global pandemic to suit yourself, is it?
Teams will. That's just the nature. I think that's just the nature of the sport. There's an opportunity. There's a little crack appears, and an opportunity for teams to do it. They will do it. I think that's just how it is. People will look at it as professionalism. Some other people will look at it as you're looking at it. But I think the EFL have been hurt with it, and I think they've obviously had to tighten up, which they've no doubt did. You know, the procedure that we had to go through Thursday and Friday was tough, and we had to show and prove, which we did, and we were okay with that, to do that, which we did, and even this week, other clubs have had to do that. Liverpool have had to do that. Obviously, the competition is an EFL backed competition, so Liverpool had to do that, and teams will have to do that this week. And maybe, as I said, maybe some teams now are sort of not paying the price, but the situation has changed a little bit, because maybe listen, we all speak to people in the game. I speak to people in the game. It's quite a inclusive game. We all know everybody, and I speak to some clubs and games that they've been called off, and they've just basically not really had to do a lot to get those games called off. So I think obviously the narrative's changed now from the EFL, and it's going to be a learning experience, which sometimes, unfortunately, some clubs have to suffer through. And
the EFL, Premier League, FA, they've all made clear they're going to sort of plough on through this as best as possible. There have been suggestions of taking a break, but is a break kind of pointless, because every club is going to have outbreaks at different times, aren't they?
Yeah, every club will do. Obviously, I look at arguably not arguably, they are the best club, the most powerful club in the country, and it can happen to them. It can happen to Pep. It can happen to Liverpool. To it happen to Liverpool and to Manchester City, and all the protocols and procedures and 2 buses and social distancing and eating at different times and going through everything that I should imagine they'll go through and invest a huge amount of money for it to happen to them. I think just shows you that it can happen to anybody at any time. And it happened to us last week, and it was incredible, Jay, mate, what happened to us, because we follow rules, we follow protocols. We were quite proud. I've gone on record in saying, we're proud in terms of what we've done here and our past track record. Then all of a sudden, it came through and swept through us, and it was an outbreak, and these things can happen, and the outbreak can come from the smallest of things, can't it? It can come from a child, goes to school, comes back home, all of a sudden that gets passed into the household, then it gets passed into a football club, and I think whatever you do, it's going to hit you, and it doesn't, as I said at the start of the interview, Jamie, he doesn't take no prisoners, and if he can, like I said, if he can do that to Liverpool and to Manchester City, he can do that to anybody.
You're talking to someone who's currently under house arrest. Two kids currently homeschooling in the 2 rooms next door, so I sympathise with you in that. Just finally from me, you were telling Mark how you are active in the transfer market, and you're obviously looking for the players that will give you that final push for the rest of the season. Jurgen Klopp has mentioned in the past that he wouldn't look to sign players that weren't fully vaccinated in case there is another breakout. Are you similar in terms of having that as a sort of policy?
Well, in an ideal world, I've gone on record as well of saying, I'm pro-vaccination, and responsibility needs to be taken personally to protect around me more than just myself. But the democracy that we all live in, and choice and freedom of choice is still there. So we're not living in an ideal world where everybody's vaccinated, and we've certainly got players that haven't, and we can't, we can advise, but ultimately they're the ones to make those decisions. But I think in an ideal world, but I've got to say, when we're looking at targets and a small amount of targets, and how difficult the January transfer window is, especially for Championship clubs as well, because we are looking at Premier League clubs, and are Premier League clubs now likely to let players out in terms of what is happening, and how it's going through squads and making players unavailable. It becomes more difficult for Championship clubs to go and get those players. So I've got to say, when I'm writing lists down, I'm not really asking at the moment, are they vaccinated or not? Maybe Liverpool are a completely different position to what we are. But we'll be delighted if, players that we do sign in January turn up and say that they've been double jabbed and had the booster jab, and then obviously that's beneficial to us going forward.
My 7-year-old is double maths starting shortly, so I'll crack on.
All the best.
Best of luck for the week.
All the best, mate. Take care. Enjoy.
Dawn from up north, please.
Hey.
Hello, Chris. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, got you, Don. You okay?
Wait, but yeah, fine, thanks. Just a couple.
Andy. You're not an Andy, are you? I'm sure you're not an Andy.
As important as it is to bring in new players and do some business in the transfer market, it was also important to hang on to those good young players that you've got. And Josh Coburn is one of those, isn't he?
Yeah, delighted Josh has signed a new contract. Izzy Jones has signed a new contract as well. So, yeah, we want to keep our best young players. It's got a tradition of, the football club's had a tradition of producing really good young players, local players. Josh obviously is a local boy as well. So delighted that Josh has committed, and as I said to him, now is the target of going and getting that next contract and forcing way into the first team. But he's had a fabulous start to his Middlesbrough career at senior level, and his work ethic is really good. He's a really focused young man, and one of the things that I think that we'll bring to him is that we'll teach and coach him thoroughly and hopefully improve him. And with his desire and attitude to do well, then it's a good combination.
And notwithstanding all the COVID business, in terms of the FA Cup, I think the sheen has come off the competition over the last however many years. Is it a competition that still kind of excites you, though?
Well, it's a game of football, and we want to win it. I think of course, when you go deep into the competition, it starts to ramp up. I think it's been a difficult one for Championship clubs, really, because of the prize of and lure of the Premier League, especially for sort of the top 10. So I think historically, the amount of Championship clubs that have been knocked out third and fourth rounds is very, very high. We don't want to be one of them. Whatever team we put out, we expect those players to go well and have that consistent attitude. But I think everybody understands, even though you might make, and at times I've done it, and had a real struggle as well to get through from third and fourth rounds. But if you do make a lot of changes, it really does make it difficult. Unfortunately for us, these are enforced changes, but we're still going to Mansfield as a football club that's on a decent run, and we want to continue that. And I've openly said it. I want the younger teams to progress and learn and be better, individually be better. But I want a winning mentality running through the club, and that is as important as development. That players have attitude about themselves and have pride in their performance and result as well. So we'll certainly, the competitive aspect to myself and the players, we'll want to make sure that we're winning footballers come Saturday afternoon.
And have you ever had a more chaotic week or 10 days in your life?
No, not at all. Not at all. It is, and I should imagine it will continue for the next hour, 2 hours, possibly. I think it's how it's gonna be right the way through to the end of the season. I should imagine, until maybe the sun starts shining a little bit and the pandemic eases off. And it starts to drift away, but I think it's going to be like this, and it's going to test us as managers and coaches in terms of the sessions, in terms of how we adjust, how we use what we've got, be inventive, and imaginative as well. In terms of the teams that we put out and how we go about and how we play the games. I should imagine from now on in, to the end of the season, there won't be same team, same subs for majority, if not all, the clubs in the Football League can play competitive football between now and the end of the season. So it really is going to be a huge test for managers and coaches to get through this period, but one that we're really looking forward to.
Thanks very much and good luck.
Cheers, thank you. Thanks.
Simon from Tyne Tees, please.
Hey, Simon.
Hi Chris, I've only got a couple. I know we've been on a while. Congratulations on your award. Specifically about Isaiah's, how impressed have you been with him since you've been here, and how much better can he become? How much further has he got to go?
Well, it's not a bad start for the young man. First year in the Championship, first year playing senior football, really, at a top level. And he's playing well. As I said, the team's playing well. It makes it a lot easier for Jonah. He's settled into a position. He's got to learn the position. There's a lot of intricacies into that to be a really good wing back, and we're trying to help him on that journey, and the boy has got an attitude and appetite to be better. So who knows? But he's had a fabulous start and great reward for a really good month. You know, he's obviously, from a defensive point of view, you know, it's a tough position to play, and we expect at the top end of the pitch for assists and goals, and Isaiah's, you know, played a major part in the goals that we've scored recently.
And final point, I mean, it's been touched on a few times. We're not short of moments over the last couple of years that show us how strange the world is. But on a morning where really we should be coming in and saying nice things about you and well done on your award and well done on Isaiah's award, we're actually coming in and asking you whether you can get a team out tomorrow. It's just so strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit Sunday league, isn't it? When you're waiting in the changing room at you got 11 o'clock kickoff and everybody's piling in after a night out at 20 past 10 and half 10. And where's he? And has his alarm gone off? Or where did he end up last night? It's a little bit more professional than that, but it has got that feel to it that we're adjusting and changing all the time. As I said, I think I've wrote the team out in the last 24 hours about a dozen times. Fingers crossed I won't have to write out again, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had to.
Well, I hope you don't have to. Good luck.
Cheers. Thanks.
Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Chris. Morning.
Morning, mate.
Chris, just on the FA Cup, I mean, it's, you know, people talk about the magic of the FA Cup, and of course it's, you know, it's a competition with so much history and memories for people. I mean, for you personally, is it still, you know, like a special competition?
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to go deep into the competition, and for me personally, you know, as a young kid, you know, getting up and watching, you know, semi-finals at neutral grounds and cup final day and you know, famous in the days results, you know, that have come the way, and your own personal sort of experience. Of course, you know, to get deep into the competition, you've got to go through the ringer, haven't you? And you've got to go through as a championship club. You've got to go and see off the likes of teams that are below you in the pyramid, and these are tough games. And you know, for everything that we're talking about, you know, Nigel and his team will be definitely eyeing up an upset. So I understand that one-off game. So, you know, you don't have that luxury, and possibly we won't want it at this stage as well, the luxury of dragging them back to the riverside. So, you know, their supporters will be walking through the door tomorrow thinking that this is game on. Their players and manager will do. So my message to our players will be that, reminding them that, you know, this is a tough game. You know, I think one of the pleasing things, Craig, that I will say is that when we went to Blackpool, I understood, possibly more than anybody, how difficult that game would be. I think that, you know, the Forest game took care of itself. The Bournemouth game took care of itself. The Sheffield United game would have took care of itself. This one was the one that really shows what you're about as a team, and I was delighted that we come through it and got the result that we were all after. And I'll be just as pleased on Saturday afternoon if we get through the tough tie and we're in the app for the next round.
Just going back when you were speaking to Mark and you were talking about Aaron Connolly's arrival, you were talking about the fact that, you know, he has a bit of the eye of the tiger, and he's not just coming here to kind of, you know, have a bit of a relaxing few months. I mean, when you sign loan players, there's always that kind of, if you like, two sides of the coin, it could go either way kind of thing. How important is it when you kind of, you know, bring in someone in on loan that you know that they are going to have that kind of commitment to the club and the cause?
Well, you know, I've got to say, it's not just to pick up a phone, ring Brighton and ask if Aaron Connolly's available. You know, there's a lot of digging into it, character assessment, speaking to the boy, getting a feel of it. You know, you can't never 100% be certain that this is going to be, you know, one that is an absolute 100% success. But, you know, you're only allowed so much. We've invested a couple of quid into it, as you can imagine, taking a player out of a Premier League club. You know, I've not got a blank checkbook, so we have to make sure that we get this right, and we've done as much as we possibly can do and the feeling is that this is the right one, and we'll only know at the end of the season. But I'm you know, very, very confident that he'll add to a good group of players. and he'll be a really good addition. The supporters will really like his attitude, the way he plays the game, and hopefully he adds at the top of the pitch to a group of players that have done okay to well so far.
Yeah, and on that front, on transfers, Chris, you mentioned you're down the line with another one. I mean, overall, how's the picture looking, and how is it progressing?
Yeah, good. It generally is slow early on, but we're trying to do more. We're hopeful before the Reading game that we can do 1/2. And before the end that we'll have done the number that I'm looking at, but still a lot of work to be done, and no shortcuts in terms of getting these deals done. You have to go through the process. You've got to do the dance, which we'll do, and come out the other end, and hopefully by the time the window shuts, everybody will look and say, Middlesbrough have had a good window there, and it's still through that period. We've picked up some important points, and then it's onto the final part of the season in good nick, and the group is looking in better shape than what it did when the window opened.
Yeah, and that number that you see you're looking at for the month overall, I don't suppose you'll be revealing that, will you?
I suppose you don't suppose. I suppose you don't suppose. I'm not supposed to gonna tell you what the number is.
Brilliant.
Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
Chris, and
Take
good
care,
luck.
mate. Cheers.
Scott,
you okay?
Hi, Chris. You all right, mate? Yeah, very good, thanks. Just one more on the kind of transfery front. You've talked quite openly about players potentially going out.
Yes.
Have you had interest in any of the players that you might look at to go out? And at this stage, do you envisage sales, loans, a combination of both?
Well, first of all, you never know what. I think we've got assets at the football club, so we might be tested on that front. So you never know, and you deal with that when that happens. We've certainly had inquiries about some players, and that is important that from a numbers point of view that we get that right, and it's a balanced squad, and we don't stockpile players as well. I won't do, but we have genuine competition for places. So yeah, there's interest because there's some good players that are not playing at the moment, and maybe some decent players that might suit a different way of playing to how we are, and I think players understand that. There's maybe a couple of players that have been injured that might need to go out and get some game time between now and the end of the season. And generally, I've got a group of players that all want to play. So unfortunately, that can't happen, and we'll facilitate that as much as we possibly can to allow that to happen and get good deals to balance off with the deals that we've brought in, Scott.
And just going back to what you were saying about the fact, injury-wise, you haven't got any injuries. So where does that mean Boro, Marcus Brown, people like that who had been on the long-term list, are they all available?
No, sorry, no. Sorry, what I'm saying is, available
more
for
fresh.
For short term. Bowler's going to be March. Marcus Brown's been out all season. I'm not expecting Darnell Fisher, Sammy Amiobe to be involved in the second part of the season. T is March time, so I think looking sort of the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks that these players aren't going to be back for. So I think Mark Bowler's due to be back March time, and the others, if they make fabulous progress between now and that time, then if they're available, then they'll come back into it. I think Marcus Brown is possibly the only one that's sort of looking to come back into training, into the training group, and maybe need games for the second part of the season. So and obviously there's some boys in that group that want to play and looking to play as well.
And I understand things are very much up in the air, and I understand you might be reluctant to kind of name names, but are you able to give an indication of the young lads who might have a chance of being involved at Mansfield? I mean, how far down, if you like, are you having to go? Are these lads who have been in and around the first team that we'll kind of be aware of and have been sniffing around, or are you having to go further down than that, if you like, that it's lads who in a quote ideal world, probably wouldn't have been anywhere near the first team this season.
We'll potentially give 2 debuts on Saturday. There's some of the 23s will play. Some of the 23s will make the bench up. And obviously we don't know now how the testing has gone as well. So there's some of the 18/23s on standby as well. So I'm not gonna go down there with 3 or 4 players, and I think it's important as well that the young boys can get a tasting of a feel of what it's like on match day for the senior team as well. So they'll be welcomed in by a fabulous group of pros as well. So they understand that. They'll have had to go through that process when they're starting careers, but yeah, it's where it is. I think the big thing, Scott, is the number in between the 9 players, the 8 players that would have started at Sheffield United who weren't available. Now a week on, I think that some of them will come through testing okay. Some of them won't. Some of them, how the COVID has affected them, they'll be at different stages. So it's just a complete mixed bag. Some of them, as you know, people have had COVID and had Omicron, have not been affected at all, and still getting on. Well, it should be day-to-day life at home, obviously, self-isolation, but they're not coughing and spluttering, and some are in different places to that one. So, and as well and the big thing for me is I'm taking medical advice, which we have to. It's important that we keep these boys safe. So the medical advice, I should imagine, to the 8 or 9 players that did test positive last Thursday/Friday, is that they won't be able to start a game on Saturday at 12 o'clock because the lack of training. They've not done anything. Basically not done anything. So I think that's obviously ultimately the big worry and concern of the medical department.
Great. Well, listen, good luck.
Cheers, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hi, Chris. Unfortunately, I've still been I've been tested positive since the Blackpool game. So
all right, you're not fit. You're not fit for selection, then, mate. You're out the frame.
Yeah.
Where would you play then if you were playing? Let me have a look. I'm thinking you're a midfield player or a centre half. Go on.
I'd try and get lost in midfield somewhere.
Did you?
I would try. Yeah.
Anything that moves, boot it.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the FA Cup and Mansfield, and about how it's obviously going to be a really tough task anyway, but it's something, can you tell us something about the FA Cup really, what it means to you?
No, I mean, it's a great opportunity for them, and it's an opportunity for us to progress. So we want to go deep into the competition, and it's a fabulous competition, but the hard work starts on Saturday, and to get deep into it, all the big games. We want the big games. I want the big game at the Riverside at home. I want a Man United or a Liverpool or a Premier League club at home and a sellout. They're the games that the players want. I want them for the football club. Financially, there's huge incentives as well there as well. But you've got to see off the likes of Mansfield, and Mansfield are the same. They want to get into the 4th round, and all of a sudden, whatever number they are, it plays another number and is a big roar, and that's what the FA Cup brings to you. But to get to those situations, us as a Championship club have got to see off the likes of Mansfield to do that, and we're going to have to do a lot of things right. I keep saying the attitude has got to be spot on from a physical point of view. It's going to be early burly type of game. First and second balls. And then we've got to try and impose and stamp our authority on the game, but it's certainly going to be easy. I've talked about my respect for Nigel. Our sort of relationship goes back a long way, and got a huge amount of respect for him, what he's done as a player and as a manager, and what he's achieved. And I know close up on what he's all about, and really like the guy. And but he's well versed, and as I said, experienced, and has got history in terms of cup upsets, which I think I can say, if a team out of League Two beats a team that's in the top 8 of the Championship, that would be classed as an upset, and I think he understands that. I understand that, and everybody that's involved in the game will recognise that.
It'll be another game with a tremendous atmosphere, I think.
Even
though it's a very early kickoff, but there's a full house from Middlesbrough, there'll be a full house from Mansfield, and it'll be obviously a very big game there. So that brings its own pressures, or does it lift players?
Well, I think they'd rather play with a full house than play behind closed doors that we've had to for too long, or we did do for too long, and obviously the fear recently of going back to that is just not worth thinking about, in my opinion. Because I had it and it was just incredibly sad and disappointing, even though I understand the reasons behind it. But full house is what it is, and we're there to be shot at. And I think, as I said, when those players walk through the door, they know it's game on now because of the messages that I'll be telling them. But it'll definitely be game on when they step out for the warm up and knowing that But that's what pros want to play in. That's what good pros want to be part of that, and full house is great, and all I'm interested in is getting a result for our football club and the supporters that have yet again made the long journey down the road and have backed us yet again superbly well.
And Isaiah Jones, as we've mentioned, getting that award, watching him from the sidelines, he looks like he does exactly what you ask of him. It must be a joy to manage somebody that carries out the instructions in that way. Yeah,
that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to get to. Well, I think we're going to be in a bit of trouble if they don't. But no, he's receptive to our methods and how we think. But I think what Jonah's got is he's got that little bit of individuality at the top of the pitch. So it's not we've got structure in and out of possession, but at the top of the pitch, players have got to show the quality and produce big moments. And Jonah's doing that, and fully deserved, and delighted for him. And as he knows, there's a lot of other people around that have played a part in allowing him to get that award. But he's been good. We're delighted that he's a Middlesbrough player, and he has a big future here ahead of him.
And congratulations to you, Chris. That's not a bad start, is it?
Cheers, Rob. Yeah, good start for us all. Like I said, team effort, and I'm really enjoying my time and the start of the football club, and hopefully there's more to come, especially the second part of the season, and we can keep this going.